What is up, guys? Dirty Boot Sports, and we are back with another episode. What number is this? 127? 127. This time, to open it up, we have an interview. We have Sean Fox from 97.7. Tell everybody what's up.
What's up, everybody? I'm glad to be number 127. Who the hell were the 126 before me?
No. You're about our 10th interview, probably.
Yeah.
Some names you know. Yeah, you got Jordy Collada, a couple guys like that. You probably know about half the people we interviewed, actually.
I'm just thought that I was behind all those other guys, but okay.
Yeah, hey, we can say you were a big part of us becoming a podcast, though.
That is
true. And for hiring Ty.
And Fox, just like I was y'all's 10th choice for the radio, now you know how it feels.
Ty, that may be the funniest thing you've ever said. So accurate.
Seriously though, Ty, when Ty got on the air, it was basically I called Chance up. I was like, "Hey man, if a caveman can do it."
West Virginia Ty.
But no, that was the inspiration. I was like, man, let's get something going. I called Ty, called Chance, and it was kind of something that everybody was already wanting to do anyways.
Yeah.
And we just hooked up. And this is, by the way, this is our fantasy football league, basically.
Yeah, Dirty Boot. That's where Dirty Boot came from.
Start.
Yeah, and Dirty Boot football, that's been around
For 12, 13 years.
at least.
Where's that trophy at, Ty?
It's at the house.
Need to bring that one day.
No, yes, I have to. Kramer still does trophy name tags, right?
He does. Yes.
All right. Well, he's about to
name
get some
it.
business. Hey, do you think maybe he could be a little sponsor?
Maybe he could come on the show.
Ty, did you break the trophy?
He would have no clue how to get onto this show. He nor Puffy.
Yeah, Puffy would be like, the scene on Zoolander when they say it's in the computer and they start banging on it.
Yeah.
That is actually an accurate statement. And Ty knows this. He's the only guy. God love him. I love my father, but God, he drives me crazy. He is the only person who goes in every day and does not turn the laptop on and does the show. he has this, we call it the Book of Scrolls, and that's what he has. But he just not. Now, amazingly, he knows how to operate Pornhub on his phone, but he cannot operate the internet.
Wait, how does he feel about having to verify his location with his ID?
He is pissed, and in fact, he's not using it anymore. So I don't know what he. Now.
Yeah, dude, the state of Louisiana is not going to see my category. Absolutely no way.
Where are we going?
What a start. So after all that, Sean, tell everybody just who you are and I guess how you got into this business.
Sure. Yeah.
What led you to this moment?
Yeah. This is the culmination, boys.
127.
Sean Fox. I've been the sports director of 97.7 off and on for 20 years this year. We were at one time the largest all sports station in the state. We're still one of them. I like y'all probably grew up being big sports fans. I grew up in New Orleans, in Mandeville, listening to Buddy Diliberto. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with Buddy D, but Buddy D,
just me,
the old man. Yeah. He was like the call-in guy after the Saints games.
Haps Point After.
Hap started it, and then when Hap died, Buddy took over. And then Buddy had a call-in show every day, like I do in the evening. But his was, I think, he went to like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I just remember this is kind of where my love of radio kind of took place. Like growing up, I don't even know if this is in existence anymore. But where we lived, if the Saints games didn't sell out, they would be blacked out. So I'd watch all the Saints road games, but there were very few times growing up that I actually got to see the Saints in the Superdome on TV.
Wow.
So the way I would, keep up with them was I'd go lay in my bed and listen to them on the radio. And then from there, I would listen to Haps Point After and listen to the call-in show and listen to everybody rant about how bad the Saints sucked. And Buddy was in the media, but he was, and he told like he was, like, man, the Saints suck, and here's why they suck. And I could appreciate that, and I would just go to bed every night listening to Buddy D. So that kind of, and then listening to Jim Henderson on the radio. So that's kind of where my love of radio started. And then when I got into college, went to Tech, and I had a couple cocktails. I was up at Ponchatoula's, and I went up to Keith Richard, who's the coach at ULM, was the coach at Tech at the time, basketball. And I went up to Ed Abear, who's still at the radio station. I'd call him kind of my mentor. I went up to him, no shit. I mean, what did I have to lose? I just like, hey, I'll go on Fox. I want to do radio. He's like, you ever done it before? I said, no, but if you don't hire me, somebody else is going to.
All right.
Nice.
Now, straight up.
Granted, I've never done radio before. So he goes, all right, well, let's see what you can do. Well, I got me. Here's the irony. I got 3 of my best friends to go do this show with me once a week for an hour. Now this is how we prepared. We sat around at our kitchen table, still in college, and Miami.
That's before social media, really, right?
Oh yeah,
way before social media.
So Miami is playing Tech, I think is the game. That was the first show we ever did, was the week when they had Brock Berlin and Kellen Winslow and all those.
Wow.
Guys. Yeah.
So
So
it wasn't at Tech.
It was in
No.
Yeah, at Shreveport.
State Fair.
And yeah, Luke McCown, Ryan Moats, all that. Like Tech had Josh Scobie. They had some NFL dudes, but Miami had Sean Taylor, Vince Wilfork. I mean, it was insane.
Is that was Devin Hester on there too?
I want to say yeah.
He had probably
think
just
he
left,
was
maybe.
the-
Yeah, he was around then, though, for sure.
Yeah.
They were loaded. And we watched, or we had the NCAA game, and we put it on simulation. The game finished, and we sat around and broke down what we just saw. Record. So that we took that, and then we went and did our first radio show. And I don't know how they asked us to be on for the second time, but we kept doing it. We were terrible. A couple of guys graduated. We added a couple other guys. It was still me and Nick White, and a couple other guys joined us. Or no, Kyle Roberts, who's the voice of Rustin. And
So he was the original?
he was the second year.
Okay.
Ironically, the 4 originals were me and Nick White, who everybody knows what Nick has done with ULM through
Right.
the years. My best friend from junior high and high school, we still best friends to this day, Robbie Bazell. He got out of the business and is making money. And the other person who started with me is Charlie Hogan. And Charlie, ironically, is an associate AD at Florida State now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's 4 that started it. Robbie and Charlie graduated, and then me, Nick, and Kyle Roberts did it. Kyle did it for a year. He went on and did other things. Then it was just me and Nick White. And Nick at the time was actually a youth director. I can't remember the church, but he was the youth director of that. So I was fixing to graduate, and I was like, shit, I don't know what. I mean, I kind of like doing this radio thing. And it wasn't ESPN radio yet.
No.
It was still we were still on the peak just once a week. And as I was getting ready to graduate, I'm panicking, and I told the people at the radio station, I was like, look, I don't really know what I want to do, but I know I really like this, and I'd like to stick around in some capacity. And they were like, ironically, we like what you're doing, and we're thinking about flipping the format to ESPN. And would you want to be the sports director? And I'm fixing to graduate from college. I'm like, well, hell yeah, I want to do it. So we start the show every day, Fox and Company, from every day for an hour, or once a week for an hour, to every day for an hour. Then it grew to 2 hours. Then we tried to bring on another local show. We tried a couple other ones leading into us, because I think at the time we were only 4 to 6. Well, then the other shows kept flaming out, and we went from 3 to 6. So that's kind of how it started. And honestly, guys, at the very beginning of it, I didn't make a ton of money. I really panicked, and I kind of took what they gave me. And I only made the first go round when I was there. I think I only made over $30,000 one time.
Well, Fox, to piggyback on that,
Yeah.
is that when you left to go to
Yes,
Dylan's company?
Yeah. So I left when my wife got pregnant. She was managing Chili's at the time in West Monroe, and those are long hours, and she's always on her feet. And I was like, look, once we have the baby, I'm gonna have to find something else because this isn't fair to you. Yeah. So I took I call it about a 3-year hiatus, and I went.
Dang, it was that long.
It was that long. It was almost 4 years, and I ended up working for Marsala, and they're a great company. I can't say enough good things with them. They really took care of me. They're still the title sponsor to this day. I left with a great relationship, but I'm not a corporate person. I mean, my job I had was both physically demanding. I was the shelf space coordinator, which if you go buy beer, it may not seem like it's that complicated. It's way more complicated when you have to design the shelves to do it and actually set it up a certain way. There is a formula to it. You have to fight with rival beer companies. When you do resets, you might be at a store for 10 to 12 hours. Like, it's insane. And it just kind of broke me. And at the time, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but when I left, things kind of went downhill. And things happen for a reason. When I really wanted to get out, they were thinking about going away from having local shows. And I was like, look, I want to come back. And they're like, well, we want you back, but what would it take? And we were able to agree on a number and that I could support my family on. And the rest is history. And I've been back ever since then and been blessed. I mean, I've had other opportunities to go to other markets through the years, but I mean, my wife's in Trent. She's a manager at the neighborhood Walmart now. My daughter's involved with school. She's a cheerleader at St. Frederick in Monroe. So this is kind of home. And I mean, I'm not leaving. My goal is to still, we've come a long way since the very beginning, but I still have aspirations. I still think this thing can grow even bigger. So that's kind of the story.
That's awesome. It really is. And I'm thinking 20 years from now, Bill B 75 running the soundboard. I mean, we'll be here. We'll still be getting mad at the Saints. Yeah.
What's really awesome is that like all the relationships that you've got to develop with people throughout your years and the connections with people.
Like everything else, it is a connection business. I've forged some great relationships, which have helped with the show. I mean, I'm friends with coaches, friends with some athletes. Not again toot, but you'd be pretty impressed with the Rolodex on the phone.
Look, like last summer when you teased for the upcoming week about this is going to be a big week of guests.
Yeah.
And it was that the week of Lindell White and
yeah. But here's the thing. Like, yes, part of it is knowing connections, but some of it, man, like social media is for all the wrong. Like, I just DM'd Lindell White on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just take your shots.
And he got back to me. And then I've been really lucky lately. I want to say that it is something I guess in a way we've accomplished enough that we got the opportunity to do this. But I mean, we're interviewing the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class of 2023. Like I had Eli Manning on and Matt Forte last year.
Wow.
And they kind of reached out to us. So yeah, now I got Eli Manning and Matt Forte's number. Now, do I think they're ever to go? Probably not, but it's still pretty awesome. Because I mean, at heart,
Well,
like I'm not a journalist, and Ty knows this. Ty, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I am a fan. I didn't graduate. I graduated in general studies. Like I didn't know what the fuck I want to do besides this. Pardon my language with the podcast.
It's all
I'm
good.
You're good. You're good.
It's not radio. The FCC can't get me.
No. and hey, we don't have too many 6-year-old listening, so I don't think.
Yeah. I don't curse on the air. It's miraculous. I've never done it, but off the air, I do kind of have. I'm a Catholic from South Louisiana. I have a flippant mouth.
We heard what goes on at those parishes.
Yeah, certain ones. We say our Hail Marys and our Fathers and pray for forgiveness, and so did the priest. But I've just been really blessed, and we've had a good run here. Last couple of years with getting some big time guests. I've always said, we technically are a small market, but I really do feel we put on a big time product. We do a lot less or more with less. Like Matt, you talked about Jordy. I love Jordy to death. Jordy's on my show every Thursday, but Jordy's kind of got a different setup than I do. Matt Moscona, like his success speaks for itself. Matt's done a tremendous job building his brand. And Ty knows this. If you see their resources and you see what we do, I'm pretty damn proud of what we've done. And I personally think, but not just me, it's other people. We have one of the best sports talk shows in the state of Louisiana. And we don't take ourselves too seriously. Again, I'm not a journalist. This is my concept is kind of like what you guys do. I'm a fan. We're a bunch of guys or girls sitting together like we always would with our buddies, having a couple cocktails and bullshitting about sports. That's what I do.
Well, hey, and I'm not just saying this because it's you, but people don't see the behind the work grind and hustle that you do every day to produce those 3 hours, which is remarkable.
3 hours is a long time to talk about anything, especially knowing that you're going to be live. Yeah, that's a lot.
It is, and especially today. Like my buddy tells me all the time, like I don't know how you do it in a PC world, like where one thing you do, man, you could get canceled at, and it's tough. And
hey, I remember one topic me and Puffy were talking about, and I got a text that said, "Abort, abort, 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 abort."
And that's more me looking out for y'all.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But you do have to, like there is a method. Like yes, I'm on from 3 to 6, but does that mean I show up at 2:50? No, I'm usually in the studio by 11.
Yeah,
and not only do I sell advertising, and I got to find time to produce. I mean, if you hear the show, a lot of those clients are mine because you hear my voice on it. So, I mean, I have to find time to sell for particularly Tuesdays. The Tuesdays and Wednesdays are really long for years. In between leaving the radio show in Marsala and coming back, I picked up a job for a little while. I thought at the time to just do something before I got back on the air. I worked at the Monroe Athletic Club, and I'm still doing it. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, I open the MAC at 4:00 in the morning. So it's early, but the good news is, like, I get everything I need to do to get the place open, but then I'm working on the show then. Like, I'm so anal. I could not just turn on the mic and do it. Could I do it for an hour? Probably, but 3 hours is so long. So I probably have every day, and Ty has seen it. I call it my idea book. I try to get a guest every hour, but then I just have an endless list of topics. And if it's a topic and it's topical still, I'll move it to the next day. And the goal is you find something that the audience connects with, you get calls and texts, and you don't have to use too many. But there is a method to it, and there's a way more prep than people think.
Yeah. Look, are we about to write a book or
no?
Oh, okay.
No.
Wait. What about? Do you get royalties if the football show about Hoover High School comes on? And
no,
no royalties.
No, I don't.
What was that called? Hoover
2-a-days.
No, it was the remember West they did it at Hoover, then they did a 1 year at West Monroe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you want to talk about how that works? They came in and filmed us for 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
They used 30 seconds of it. And
was it script?
Our own script, pretty much. But they turned us into a morning show, and like obviously we weren't breaking down again like they were. It was reality show is the fakest thing out there. Or there's nothing real about reality shows.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was that was really the start of reality TV. I think what was that,
It was.
2005, 6?
It was early. It was early.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny. I completely forgot we did that, but you're right. That was may he rest in peace, Don Shows. That was the old Don Shows era at West Monroe when I said they were rolling. That was kind of at the end of when they were really rolling.
Yeah, really.
Did Don Shows have like a mafia boss personality in West Monroe?
Well, ironically, he walk around in a tracksuit a lot. I'm not kidding. No, I never forget Don Shows. Y'all love this story. This is when Bastrop was rolling, right? Reuben Randall Mackey.
Oh yeah.
All was coaching. So down in the Superdome, they used to have picture day and practices down there. I don't know how they do it anymore, but there was two teams practicing at the same time. It just so happened West Monroe and Bastrop were practicing on opposite ends of the field. And I had a great relationship with Coach Childs, and I was sitting next to him on the bench, and he's sitting around, and we look over at the Bastrop side, and Reuben Reynolds running down the sideline makes a one-handed catch. And he goes, he's pretty good. I was like, you couldn't get him? He goes, is he any good? I said, Coach, that's Reuben Reynolds. He goes, never heard of him. I was like, you're so full. He was something, man. He was
never heard
of him. He was one of the best. Like I went to Fontainebleau, and they came up and played West Monroe in a semifinal game, and West Monroe had Fontainebleau backfield Steve Court, and I can't remember who the other kid was, but one went to Tulane, one went to LSU. Court went and played fullback at LSU. I don't think he really did anything there, but obviously, I mean, they had a Division I backfield, and I'll never forget. The student bus came from Fontainebleau, and look, here's the thing. I know it happens here in North Louisiana, but there really is, and I'm not saying this is good, but there really is a culture of drinking in South Louisiana. And obviously you saw it with Rocco's and LSU. Like, it's just part of the culture down there. And I remember the students got off, and they were all hammered. I mean,
underage
hammered. And yes, I'm not proud of that, but so West Monroe, I don't know when the last time you guys been in Rebel Stadium, but they practice on another field.
Right. Yeah.
While the other team is practicing or warming up on their field. Well, then, like they hit the music and they play In the Air Tonight, and the Rebels start walking to the stadium, and the Fontainebleau student section starts chanting "overrated," and I'm like, shut up. I think it was 49-0.
Yeah.
From the next week to the last conversation I ever had with Don Shows, he said, "Hey Foxy, don't ever chant overrated in Rebel Stadium." He was the best.
Yeah, I think anybody that chants overrated, they should have to do community service.
It's
just dumb.
It's first cheer, and I'm not saying when I was young and dumb I didn't do it, but you're kind of once you do that, you're kind of eliminating the accomplishment you have by beating somebody who's really good.
That's true. That's true.
We couldn't spell overrated at Jonesboro, so we definitely weren't chanting it.
Hey, Don Shows, he has some history there.
So. He does.
Look, everybody's not 504 here, okay?
Hey, look.
Not everybody's
a 504 story. Yeah. Hey, what about speaking of West Monroe Stadium, the past year I went to West Monroe playoff game against I think it was Sterlington, maybe. No, I'm sorry. I went to the West Monroe Sterlington week 1 game. And then I went to the Union semifinal game
with Sterlington.
Okay.
Yes. Man, being at a high school crowd like that just blows your mind. It was so fun. We don't have those crowds at Jonesboro.
There's some great, like I don't think West Monroe Stadium, even though it's big and glorious and great, and they got to be proud. I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same. I think that old Rebel Stadium was special, but there's some. I mean, look, when Jonesboro's rolling, that's a great atmosphere. Union's had a lot to be proud of. Obviously, I've been on the ground floor. I got to call every game Trey Holly played in. I mean, that's what you want to talk about a great accomplishment. I got to call Trey Holly breaking the all-time state rushing record.
Oh yeah.
Well, hey,
That's
real
awesome.
quick, what do you what's your expectation for him this freshman year?
I thought he was well. Obviously, he played a lot in the spring game. I mean, he was kind of the feature back in the spring game. But the moment they got Logan Diggs from Notre Dame, I mean, if John Emery comes back, and justifiably so, I know the Caleb Jackson kid from Liberty is really good. I'm biased. I love Trey. I think he's got a role. But I think once they got Logan Diggs this year, that probably eliminated him being a contributor. But I do think, but I don't know if he'll ever be the feature back, but Trey Holly will make an impact on LSU.
Absolutely.
He was, and again, do I have a bias? Yes. And I know Louisiana's produced a bunch of good backs, and they always do. I think for the last 2 or 3 years, he's been the best back in the state of Louisiana, regardless of class. And here's what's lost. That COVID year, he had like 50 touchdowns, and I don't
That's not
know,
exaggeration either.
at like 2,500 yards. Guys, he only played 7 full games that year out of the 15.
Wow.
They were pulling him.
Wait,
There was like he didn't play a lot of. I mean, he was in the games, but they were winning by so much. They pulled him. He could have crushed that record. So I know a lot of people say, well, he broke the record, but he also started playing in his 8th grade. Okay, well, take the 8th grade year out. If he'd have played 15 full games, he still would have broke the record.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to talking about your long list of guests and everything that you've had over the years, do you have one or two that, maybe stick out, or were someone that you've been wanting a long time coming up in, radio and everything like that? So is there any that stick out?
I've got guys, I've done it 20 years every day. Like, I forget, I interviewed Chris Paul after he got drafted by the Pelicans / I've had Tony Gonzalez on randomly, Bill Romanowski, Fred Dean, Terry Bradshaw. Being a New Orleans guy, like, y'all know I'm a diehard Saints fan. I haven't had a one-on-one with Drew Brees. I've interviewed him kind of off to the side with a bunch of other people. Yeah, but I haven't had him on the show per se. But I've always had an affinity for the Manning family. So having Eli on last week was one of them. But my most surreal experience has nothing to do with like who I interviewed. The most powerful thing that ever happened to me was
Ty Garrett joining the show, right?
Besides that, was the day Eddie Robinson died.
Yeah.
I got contacted, a bunch of other people, hey, if you want to go to Coach Robinson's house, go here's when to go. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'm in the media, right? I'll go. I get to Eddie Robinson's house. One, the road between Tech, Ruston, and Grambling when you're going by the Tech golf course.
Yeah.
And you see all these big, nice houses, and I keep thinking one of these is Eddie Robinson's house. No. He had the most unassuming house you could possibly think of. You want to talk about a humble man? Like, it was nothing impressive whatsoever. Never in my wildest dreams would I said, the great Eddie Robinson lived here. Well, guys, I was the first person there. And I'd never met Miss Doris Robinson in my life. But I am sitting on the sofa of one of the most legendary coaches of all time. He's just died, and his wife is crying on my shoulder, who I've never met, saying, I don't know what I'm going to do without my Eddie. That to this day, that's the most powerful thing that's ever happened to me in doing this job. Will stick with me forever.
Yeah, I did too.
I've heard you tell that story on there, and that's one of my favorite stories of yours. The other one is the trash talk you did as a tech student, where you set off one of the guys. Who was the guy that you set off?
Brock fucking Gillespie. Fucking point guard for Rice.
There you go.
Pardon my language. I still don't like it. He threw a basketball at me.
Threw a basketball at you. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was right after the game. Rice had beaten Tech at like a last minute play. He was a good player. And I rode his ass the entire time. I mean, I keep it. I never really curse at anybody. Like I'm just a good trash talker without doing it. Well, he threw the basketball at me, and I mean, he turned around and walked away. I threw it in his back. Out of the tack for a while.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Going back to you said growing up a Saints fan and everything like that. This episode, after we finish up this interview, we're going to be previewing the NFC South and obviously the Saints. So do you have a quick outlook on your expectations for the Saints this year?
If the Saints don't win this shitty division, Dennis Allen needs to be fired.
Yeah.
He might need to be fired regardless, but
no, I'm not a Dennis Allen guy. I do think he coaches a good defense.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good defense.
But
know your role.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is health. If they are healthy, there is no reason this team should not win the division. None.
Absolutely.
I think Carolina's got some nice young pieces. It's got to take some time to develop. I think Tampa is going to be awful.
Me too.
If you're trying to choose between Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield, good luck.
And
Slow down.
And on top of that, they're bringing back the throwback jerseys that they
Creamsicle.
Yeah, they're bringing
Hey,
what are you
legendary.
doing?
Legendary.
What in the name of Vinny Testaverde? And and like I said, Carolina's got some good young talent. I do think Bryce Young's going to be good, but I don't expect it right away.
Yeah.
And Atlanta, I do like. I hate to say this, I like some of Atlanta's pieces, but I mean, Desmond Ridder.
Exactly.
I know Carr is not everybody's cup of tea. Well, having watched this team my entire life, he is 95% better than almost every other quarterback the Saints have ever had.
That's right.
And there's some nice pieces around him. I think the key is, even more than Kamara, if Michael Thomas is healthy, this can be a really, really good team. And the NFC, golly, the discrepancy between the NFC and the NFC is insane. So I think it's 11-6, at worst 10-7, and you win the division. Anything other than that, there needs to be some really big changes in New Orleans.
Yeah, dude, they're still plus like 125 to win the division. So there's a bet in the
like I said, and really, and because y'all have the Pelicans right there too. It all comes down to New Orleans sports, and I do say this all the time: health. I think if Zion and Ingram can ever be healthy at the same time, the Pelicans can still be really good. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the voodoo or the nasty ass water down there, but they are.
Are the old myth about New Orleans Mafia?
It's our second Mafia reference.
Or maybe it's the good food with Zion.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well,
Too much good food.
It ain't human food. It's
Look, Zion's got a lot more issues than what he's eating these days.
No doubt.
Well, he's eating.
He doing
Daddy,
something right. Have that girl acting like that.
The legs. You got to save the legs. You got to save the legs.
Goodness gracious.
He is
Yeah.
he is spreading the wealth.
Yes, he.
Hey, I mean, yeah, more power to him.
Yeah. Obviously we don't want to keep you too much longer. Do you have any other questions?
I got
Ty does.
two questions real quick.
Two questions.
Okay.
Take Drew Brees out.
Okay.
Who's your favorite Saint of all time?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Ooh, that's a good.
Take
Okay.
take Manny
Vaughn-
and take Brees out.
First Saints player I ever met was Vaughn Johnson of the Dome Patrol.
All right.
So Vaughn would be up there, and Joe Horn.
All right. All right. Joe's
And
up there with us.
Joe Horn, super cool guy.
Tell
Yeah.
him about the Master P
Yeah.
album.
And I might have told you that story, but just a nutshell. We stayed at the same hotel with them on a Saturday night before the game.
2000.
Right.
That's the night we passed You Can't Beat Wagner's Meat.
Oh, of course.
Yes. But we didn't meet Wagner, just for the record.
Me?
We didn't meet him.
Okay.
Okay. But yes, we got to meet all the Saints people in that hotel lobby. So that was really awesome.
Yeah,
And-
you did tell me that story before.
What's your other question, Ty?
Other question to all right, LSU running backs. I think is Cecil the Diesel your favorite running back?
Okay, yeah. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, and this goes
Me
back to
too.
Brady.
Me too.
Kevin Falk. I grew up being a huge Kevin Falk fan.
Right.
Still am. He's up there. But I had the chance to interview Cecil Collins last year, or either early this year or late last year.
Yeah,
I think it was this year.
Yeah.
You want to talk about an interview I wasn't expecting? Holy cow! I mean, we got so much feedback. You want to talk about a guy who's made the best of a second opportunity? I never thought you would say this about Cecil Collins, but man, just a quality human being and a true story of redemption. And I get random text messages from him still. Like, he's just, hey, how you doing? Incredible guy. And again, I know his story in the past, and it ain't great, but man, look, life chances, and he's making them. And look, I'm a big believer in like I get pretty offended when, and then, you know, obviously not to go on a huge rant to end this thing, but we have a tendency in society today to dig up, especially with social media, tweets from the past. And I know, like, a few years ago, they tried to hold Joe Burrow accountable for some things that weren't great, but he was like 14 or 15 years old. But as human beings, we're supposed to grow.
Yeah.
And when you grow, you become a different person. Thank God I'm not the same person I was when I was 16. I'm not the same person I was when I was 25. I'm not the same person I was when I was 35. You get older, we make fun of our elderly, but I'm starting to get there. With that comes experience. With it becomes wisdom. But you change and you evolve, and that's how we're supposed to be. So that's the one thing I really do hate about where we are in society today is we tend to dig up things from the past. Well, I hope we're not the same people we were years ago.
Yeah, if we are, I mean, we need to.
Yeah,
We need to look in the mirror.
Yeah. So there's my mantra. Keep growing.
Hey, that was awesome. We really appreciate this interview. I mean, obviously, as we said, something we've been looking forward to for some time. I guess we waited too long to ask you.
120 times apparently. So I want to be back for episode 200.
All right.
How about before that? How about that?
At least, come on.
Hey, we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you a hoodie. When I get to Monroe, I'll bring that to you.
I'll wear it with pride. Thank y'all.
And hey, when we call in, because all of us call in at some point.
Hey,
we're gonna start.
I'm a mascot champion.
Yeah, we're gonna start being like from Dirty Boot Sports.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
my call-in name is Maurice.
I got a lot of
cowboy.
That so.
Hey, my wife's a teacher at Union this year, so I got a little.
Really?
Yeah, got hired
Well,
today.
Well, congratulations, and maybe we'll see you at the Up this year.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Yeah, we appreciate it, as I said.
Boys, thank y'all. Keep up the good work.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you.